There's an old saying that cautions us not to judge a book by its cover. But what about a face? Can we make fast, accurate judgments about someone solely from their face? We asked people if they thought they could judge a person's sexual orientation simply from a photo. You think you could tell if the person was gay or straight?
Not quite sure.
No.
No.
We then asked a somewhat shocking question. Do you think you could determine if somebody had committed suicide or not just from their picture?
Wow. I don't think so. I mean, everyone's always smiling in a picture, right?
No.
But social psychologist Nicholas Rule at the University of Toronto says you can predict certain traits and behaviors from photos, and he's got the data to prove it. For example, photos can be used to predict whether someone is gay or straight, has committed suicide or not, their political affiliation, their business success, and even their trustworthiness. Here's how the suicide research is conducted. These photos, which were altered for this video, came from yearbooks. Some people committed suicide, while the control photos were of people who had not.
And the control images were people that were taken from the same place, at the same time, at the same age, and of the same sex and race. And so they're relatively well-matched controls.
The participants are told to press the Z key if they feel the photo is of someone who committed suicide, or if they feel he or she is still alive, the slash key. And not to take too long, but rather to respond by going with their gut instinct. Independent of the gender, race, or ethnicity of the participant, or of the people in the photos, an accuracy rate of 55% was found. Chance would be 50%.
So it's a small effect, but it's a reliable one. That is, we find that almost every participant that we run through the studies does better than guessing.
Is this predictive ability innate or learned?
It's quite possibly both.
Yet surprisingly,
trained professional psychologists, people with clinical licenses, actually do no better than the average person in making these judgments.
Rule believes people unconsciously sort facial features and react intuitively, and this works against clinicians.
People who have a lot of training, a lot of knowledge about these things, may actually not be doing as well as we would expect because they may be overthinking their judgments.
But just what are participants picking up in the faces? Their accuracy is not correlated with a look of depression, hopelessness, or low life satisfaction. Rather, it correlates with a face that somehow conveys impulsive aggression. So what makes a face look impulsively aggressive?
We haven't whittled it down to understanding that just yet.
Now take a look at the gay-straight photo presentation. The photos appear for just 50 milliseconds, 10 times faster than an eye blink, with a background afterwards that allows the retina to adjust prior to the next photo. Here, the Z key is for gay, the slash key for straight. The photos are of people who come into Rule's lab, have their pictures taken, and who self-identify as either gay or straight. In earlier studies, participants saw the photos more slowly, as with the suicide research, but they still responded quickly.
And usually people would make a categorization in about a second and a half.
And the average accuracy?
People on average are about 65% accurate, which isn't perfect. It's far from perfect, but it's still much better than just chance guessing, which would be 50%.
Yet somehow speeding up the presentation doesn't reduce accuracy. And amazingly, heterosexual women who are in the middle of their menstrual cycle show increased accuracy in judging men's sexual orientation.
Before they get to their peak point of ovulation, they're not necessarily very good at judging men's sexual orientation. Then they show their greatest accuracy right there when they're most fertile, and then this goes down again as they move away from that. And this doesn't apply to her judgments of women's faces, which suggests again that there is some sort of biologically based motivation to being able to make these judgments.
One possible explanation is that gay men and women just look different from heterosexuals.
Gay men and women may have structurally different aspects of their faces, and this could be due to hormones.
A second hypothesis is that gay men and women express emotions in a subtly different way than do heterosexuals. This results in slightly different facial muscle movements, which others unconsciously notice. Rule adds that hairstyle, eyes, and the mouth may turn out to be key facial predictors of gay versus straight. So, can we judge a face by its cover? Rule says yes, we often can, and we risk losing something if we pretend that we can't.
Then we would be sort of creating sort of a false firewall of sorts. The belief that we can't actually make these judgments, and so we shouldn't pay attention to our intuitions about them. And by that very nature, we would ignore the fact and perhaps not discuss the contribution that someone's appearance is making to our judgments about them.